Today is the 27th of March 2015 and we're doing the second part of Piero Cincionesi's interview on the Matrimondia. So last time we had come to the first slab. You had just finished the first slab. You remember which year was that?
The first slab we completed in 1973, end of 73.
That just after Mother's passing, huh?
Yes, yes. No, the slab itself we have completed before that in June. Then there was the completion of the pillars, a small bit that is emerging from the slab. So we have done that one by one, the 4 pillars.
What happens once you finish the first slab? What is the next work?
Because the day we completed the last of these 4 triangles, so that means the completion of the pillar with the slab, was when Mother passed away. That was on the 17th of November.
I'm just going to do a little break from Matrimondia. You lived from 68 till 73 and when the mother was there. What was the difference after the mother passed away? What did you feel on that day when the mother left her body?
Well, it was like a change. No, it was a big change. We were not, but see, we have already started not to refer directly with Mother because she was not having any more visits and relation with anyone. So that started already at the end of March of 72.
From March 72?
Yeah, an end for
But
that.
what did you feel on the 17th November 1973?
No, it was very emotional. We were already in the house. I was still living in Promise at the time, and we were walking in the night, and somebody knocked on the door, and somebody came at the door saying, "You have to come out. Mother had passed away," and so it was this big emotion. I don't know. Probably we went to Pondi in the ashram in the night, and so we were a lot of time in the ashram and the samadhi, and there was this period there.
Is there a difference in Matrimondia before the mother passes away and after she passes away?
No, I don't know. I'm different in Matrimondia. I would not say. It was more like there was more determination.
After she passed away?
There was more determination to complete, not to go on. There was a push. Now we have to go on.
Who made that push, apart from you?
No, it was a collective feeling, that people working there, they were not commenting. No, it's not that we were commenting, but...
Were there more people involved from 73 and in the construction of the Matrimondia? Or you were still only a very
No,
few?
we were some people working daily on the structure, and at the time we were starting the next phase, the ribs construction, and it was we were building, or we have already built probably, the tower, this wooden tower. They have accompanied the ribs, and there were sort of hoist towers for each ribs. One, it was 4 towers, and there was. Like to say, that's we are here. We have to go on.
So there was a commitment.
Yeah,
on the
more
mother passed away
commitment.
to realize
Yes.
her dream as she had visioned it and envisioned it.
Yeah.
74.
But the thing is that even in 73, I was not sure how she has seen the matrimonial chamber. that's the situation, no? That, until the next year, 74, because we were not having the conversation where she explained to Sat Prem how she have seen the chamber. Then the conversation came later, in 1974. No, because you see, that is probably a consequence of her passing away. When immediately after, Uta from the ashram, the painter, she started to say that she knew the vision of the mother because mother have explained to her how the Matrimandir has to be. And that was a few years before that, in 1965, 66. And actually she is even show it to me and to other people, a small drawing where Matrimandir was like a terrace on top and was a sort of cubical form, no?
Not round.
Not round, was like that. And so everybody was...
That's 74.
Yeah.
In 74.
Yeah, and then to make things worse, she has published a booklet.
Yes, I remember.
That came out under the title Matrimandir, and it was reporting all these photocopies of the sketch and all that. So, and at this point, Paolo Tomasi, that was having in Rome the conversation between Mother and Sat Prem, decided to show us the...
Hearing about Uta.
Yeah,
Paolo
reading.
He heard about, he read the book.
He read the book. Actually, I think I have even a letter of Uta, between Paolo and Uta. No, Paolo reassured Uta that everything would go in the way which Mother will have seen, etc. And so, but he got finally, because why not before, but finally he brought this photocopy from Rome.
Photocopy of?
Of the conversation that Sat Prem have typewritten and given to Paolo and to Roger.
So that conversation set everything right.
It was finally clearing that the Matrimandir was not a mistake. It was not done by Roger or by architects of having strange visions. Or
to the mother directly.
It was inspired and guided by the mother. So when we received that, I received that in 74 and 74, and then between that and beginning of 75, it was like clearing the air, no? Like, oh, finally, I can say that what we are doing is not a mistake, because there was a lot of critics, especially from the ashram, no? With people doubting and coming and saying. So I was finally happy on that, and more than happy when Roger also came and asked me to read this thing, because he was...
He had not read, Roger had not read it.
So and then Roger have made a sort of many copies of that and have let the thing circulated. Now then also Roger have read this thing, and probably, I have not got never a clear explanation with him, but he probably got also the feeling that the chamber was defined by the mother, and he probably at the time he felt that his vision of the inner chamber was not the correct one.
So doubt came to his mind.
I think, yes.
But not to your mind. In your mind you had no doubt.
No, I was already following. The indication, because there was also, don't forget, there is also the drawing of Udar, no? There is this very simple drawings. Well, anyhow, the shape and all this. I was following that. In the lack of anything else, I was following that. But to read the way in which the mother described the globe, the ray, the shining of the ray on the globe, the symbol, when she said, this is the symbol, no? This incredible symbol that is made out of a material thing, but also by a light. No? It's a mysterious intuition. No? That's one can only perceive as intuition.
Yeah.
It's not.
We come to that, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're still far away from the crystal at this stage. You are far away from the
Well,
crystal.
we were thinking that it was. We were not knowing that it is very difficult to get a crystal of this size, but the model, we have made a model.
So now the matrimony is rising. Have you come to the triangle spot? Not yet. First it's
The ribs, the main
The ribs.
structure.
how long did the ribs take to build?
When we've completed, I would say 77, 76.
So 74 to 77 is only the ribs.
Only the ribs.
All
Only
ba-
the ribs means level by level, concreting, levels, next level, concreting, next level, concreting.
So these are the legendary concretings of the matrimony at night,
Yeah,
mostly at night,
mostly at night.
and only by Aurovilians.
No, there were people coming from the ashram too. But
Mostly
the-
by ashramas
the,
and
the
Aurovilians.
where we were having the big concretings with 200 people was in the foundation, no? Because that was a big amount of concrete to be cast in a few hours and so on.
And the ribs were 40,
The-
50
the-
people.
Yeah, the rib was more simple, but anyhow, more we were going up, more long was the time needed to transport.
I remember the
wheelbarrows,
used to be
yeah.
lifted up.
We were lifting the wheelbarrow with the winch and then going in, and then so it was an operation that was lasting some time, and it was slow. It was slow.
But people say that there was a magical atmosphere during this concreting. Is that true?
Yes.
There was
yes.
some.
Yeah, it was still there. No, it was always there. Yes.
Can you describe?
No, I think that when they said magical atmosphere, they refer mainly in this really collective effort where you have, there was a sort of coming in from the ashram with the bus and the Aurovilians, and so there was a curiosity also, and with this big lights and shining. And that was really special, no? And emotional also, emotionally. But for the pillar, I would say it was more needed a perseverance. No, it was almost always the same ritual. About 1 week to complete the shuttering, put the steel in position, and then concrete, and then another week, next rotation, pillar by pillar.
So your work there was the calculations.
Then the next difficult moment was, of course, when we reached the level of the halfway. There was not a question of making this slab, but it was the question of making these huge brackets from the ribs toward the center, no, with the ring in the middle. So that was also a very important moment.
So all these calculations you made, you and Gloria?
No, I made the drawings and the execution drawing. That was my work. The static calculation with the computer was done in Madras by this.
But that's later, the computer.
No. At the time.
At that time already?
That
70, you're talking about
70,
76?
yeah, 73, 74. The guy in Madras took the time to prepare the program. He was using a mainframe IBM in the IIT Madras, in the Institute of Technology in Madras. But the computer was a big thing, a big machine.
You saw the computer?
I saw the photos. The data were inserted by punching card each
Holes-
card.
holes in card,
Yeah,
I
was
know
there was a special machine to punch the holes with the mathematical data. That was
But
quite.
it worked.
Yeah, but it's a long, very long work, no, for him. Was, but before that, he was the computer was empty. No, it was new. There was no programs inside, and there were no on the market a guy that offering computer programs, nothing. So he designed the program.
What was his name?
Santanam.
Santanam.
It was at the time it was less than 30, I think, or around 30 years old. And it was a very, very intelligent guy. So he,
He saw the Matrimondia finished. Did he come? When the
yes, he saw it.
He came.
He came.
So
So-
the ribs, once the ribs are finished,
Yeah.
what happens then?
No, then we went up, up, up. We have reached the crown, the final ring on the top. It must be which year? 77. And then we went back to the level of the chamber, and we have cast the big slab.
So then you cast the
The
slab
slab.
of the chamber.
Because till then there was a sort of frame. We were making a sort of frame. There was nothing else. We can see photos all the time. There was nothing, just the four ribs. But after we started again from the lower level with the floor of the chamber, and starting with the beam that is holding the walls of the chamber. No, so we
But first you cast the floor of the chamber.
first we make it.
That was a big work.
Yes, legendary concrete.
Legendary
It la-
concreting also.
That lasted 24 hours.
24 hours.
Because the form, no, we were starting in one section, and then we were going in both directions like that, and closing.
And there's no film, there's no
Photos probably, but not film.
I've never seen
anything.
a film.
No.
Lasted 24 hours.
Yeah, and was long. It was long because it was already under the sun and was already high in the air like that.
But it went well.
It went well. It went well, and everything was.
You were there
I was there almost all the time.
all the time.
Mm.
24 hours.
Yeah.
Ah.
Because it was absolutely necessary that there were no interruption. I wanted to be sure there were no gaps and no.
Because otherwise there's two different kinds of.
Yeah, the concreting starts setting, and there will be some the risk of
What
disconnection.
was the thickness of that?
The slab is maybe not so much. It's 20, 25.
25 centimeters.
Mm.
Right. And what is the what is the diameter?
And the diameter is the 24 less the walls, and so on, 23 meters.
How many kilos or tons of concrete would you say?
Mm.
A lot.
A lot, yes.
You know, there's no record of how many bags
Well,
of cement.
probably it's easy to recalculate everything, but now by memory like that, I don't remember.
So the flooring of the chamber is done, and you feel.
So that was done, not like that. It was an
Did
achievement.
you feel then that you had reached a certain?
Yeah. And also I was thinking it was in the right direction, no? Because my whole preoccupation was always to go in the direction where the room can be completed later in the proper way.
Right.
Practically the design of the room started at the time, because we were, so I was already thinking where to put the air condition and how to pass the.
So you were thinking already about air
Yeah,
conditioning.
yeah, it was
The
a
mother had said
necessity.
so.
Yeah, it was necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
So we are in 77. This is the beginning of the difficult years with the society. 77.
Yeah.
You are working with Shamsunda.
But there, the presence of Shamsunda was in a certain way was moderating the pressure. No? We were feeling more pressure outside. No? We were this, but Shamsundar was somehow wanted to keep the work going.
He had that. Nava didn't have that.
No, Nava was never interested.
He was never interested in the Matrimandir.
No. Or they kept separate. No, they kept. Shamsundar was keeping the Matrimandir in a sort of separate channel.
And he was
Even
also
for funding, no?
for funding, yeah, I'm asking.
That
about
was a
funding.
big, was one of the big controversy with Nava, no? Because Nava wanted that the contribution given to Matrimandir will also pay a sort of percentage for paying the taxes of the society, you know, whatever it was, or the debt, not the tax, the debt of the society. The big change in 1973 when Mother passed away was that the bank that have given loan to the Auroville for buying land, for other things, asked back the loans. The big guarantee for the loans was always the mother, not Nava. So at this point, Nava wanted people to support him and the society and give money for paying the loans. And that had created an initial controversy with the Aurovillians. They were asked to contribute to the loans. Yeah, say money coming for the Greenbelt or for the tree plantation and so. He was asking some 50% or so to repay the loans.
And for the Matrimandir too.
And then he's asked also for Matrimandir to pay the loans. And Shamsundar refused, saying that this is money given to Mother for Matrimandir. So no question of.
So there was no drying of the funds for Matrimandir, even when the fight started.
There was a reduction of the funds. Somehow Shamsundar was happy to go slow because he was not having so much money available, but it was okay.
So then you had to go to Nava for the funds.
No, I never went to Nava for the funds, but no, it was then it started to explode the situation. No, with we Aurovillian working there, and plus people also from outside coming to discuss, etc. And we decided to go on by ourselves.
So there was an important meeting in Matrimandir, like in 78?
70, I would say more 79.
79. You remember who was there in that meeting?
No, I don't even remember the meeting, but the substance of the thing was that let's build the Matrimandir by ourselves.
So it's a second important decision after you go to the mother and say, we want to do it ourselves.
So I was put in a very strange situation because we were not having direct donation, donors. So I sold a bunch of steel that has accumulated, we were not using anymore, scrap. Sold, get some money for the paying the to go on, no? And then I was obliged to do all the acrobatics like that. Plus, there were donors.
The responsibility of not only building but also finding the money came on you.
Not directly, yeah, it came also on me. I was a well-known figure, no, somehow in the ashram and also in other places. So then there was a curious thing that Indian people came and brought me the money directly.
Wow.
So to say, this is black money, no?
But it's legal
normal,
in India.
So they come with a packet of 100 rupees and this is for Matrimandir. No, in the newspaper like that. No, plop. So I was stricken by this thing, you know, it's a new position.
Thing in your life.
I was here for making the construction, and so I was confronted with these nice people, no? Very, very humble and very courteous and very.
So the work carried on. It never
so
stopped.
we never stopped.
The work in Matrimandir never stopped.
No.
Even
never.
in 79 in great difficulties.
Then there was a great difficulty in supplying the cement. There was this crisis in India, no cement, where we get the cement. Again, now we have to apply for cement with a legal name, and what is your name? So I was going to Tindivanam, to the depot of the concrete cement for buying a lorry of cement.
There was a shortage of cement in India.
Very much.
79 or 80, somewhere like that.
No, it was around the same period, yes, 79. I say 79, no, why? Because I was stricken in my house by a guy, that came into my room there.
Right, so this is the part of the fight of society where you were a victim. You were beaten up.
Yeah.
You were beaten up in this house.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe you can have a shot of this house. In this house you were beaten up at night?
Yeah.
You were sleeping at night?
Yeah. It was, at the time we were not having bars on the windows, and it was relatively easy for a guy to climb on the walls and go inside.
So you were the guy from the society?
But it was never proved. It was a sort of a hitter, a guy that...
But you were badly beaten up, I believe.
Very badly, yes.
With a crowbar?
With some, either a heavy wood or a big or a crowbar or a sort of, yes.
And they broke your jaw?
And I got a broken jaw, and so I was brought in the night itself to Jipmer in the hospital and recovered.
1980?
79 was.
So this aggression, which was very brutal, did it break your spirit? Did you feel threatened, and did you feel that?
We felt threatened, but there was a lot of solidarity in Auroville. We were,
I remember, yeah.
People coming to help us to watch the house, and so it was a good moment.
And did it affect your work in Matrimondia?
Well, not so much. I would say not so much. The work was going on, as I said, a little bit slow, but it was going on, and the drawings were there, and so.
Well, 81, is this the years where Roger stops coming to Auroville, from 81 till maybe 90 or 88?
No, I think Roger stopped even before that. I cannot say now the exact date, but when he saw the building up a controversy between Shamsundar and the society, and he was concerned with the whole of Auroville. And I presume that his dream was always that the society will supply this big amount of money to go on with the
So
town.
you felt Auroville should have remained with the society?
I would say yes.
Doing the Matrimondia?
Yeah. And I was dealing mainly with the ramps, with the triangulation of the outer skin, and with the more detailed work for the inner room, for the inner chamber.
So 79, 80, you start the inner chamber?
Yeah, we started with the walls, but you see, the walls were already defining the position of the marble, because we were obliged to leave bolts in the right position and the levels and all that. So the room was having already a first
look.
Yeah, first look.
And the triangles was, of course, has been the main work for how many years? The laying of the building and the laying of the triangles. This was a very.
This was long, yes.
It was very long, right?
Yes, that was maybe 5-6 years.
5-6 years.
So it ended 88. The real end was in 88 when we reached the top and we cast the slab on top. So the triangulation started then, and I mean, with the lower levels, and we went on up till 87, 86,
70. The triangles are all laid. I remember all done by hand, by Aurovillians, hanging by one hand. I remember that, yes.
Yeah. There was a sort of a team specialized in bringing up this heavy beam, 500 kilo beams.
Krishna, Black Krishna.
Yeah. and lifting down and making acrobatics on the scaffolding.
No harnesses, no security. You know?
No security. No.
Nobody got ever hurt except for Diane.
Mm.
This is also legendary, you know. The
Yeah.
laying of the triangle is very legendary.
Yeah.
Andy was involved in that.
Yeah. There was.
Gerard was still there.
Yeah.
Krishna.
Yeah.
So you reach the top. What happens after that?
No, then Roger came back. No, that was in '88. And when Roger was back,
So Roger came back. He came back to Auroville. And when did he come to Matrimony first after coming back?
Telezanzar, no.
Were you present when Roger came back to Matrimony
No,
the first
Roger
time after 8
came-
years?
I was present. We were visiting Matrimandir together, and he was almost. And when he saw the triangulation, the structure, like it was very light and very elegant, no, like it came out very harmoniously. He almost embraced me. He said, "That is wonderful. What incredible work! But this is not your work. It's mother work."
He said like that. But he was happy about.
Was very happy, yes. And it was the moment, I think, when he saw that, and then after we discussed it, some drawings, when he thought about modifying the pattern of the disc. You know, there was this first drawing, first design of the disc that was in raw, no? That was very. And it was also very popular somehow, and people like it because in the model, no, in the small scale, it was very elegant, very
So he
like
and
a jewel. No?
He actually modified them.
Yeah, and then when he saw the structure like that, he thought that he cannot do it. He cannot do like that anymore.
So then he modified the golden discs.
Yeah. And then when he went back to Paris, he worked out the design in a different way, and that came after. That fit with the triangles. Now the new design was fitting with the levels of the structure and with all.
Concentrate on the inner chamber. What happens when you take charge of the inner chamber? What is the first work you do?
Well, there were some. You can divide the work into parts. Now there were the columns to be purchased and finished. Find the 12 columns. There was the marble. The marble was already purchased in 1977. So that's very strange thing because for the mother centenary year, 1978. People like Shamsundar or Madan Lal especially thought that we should make an effort and complete the inner chamber for this date.
For 78.
It was a little bit strange because there was nothing else, no, there was no outer shell, nothing. So, and then it started the move to buy the marble for the inner chamber. Yes, that's the reason I went to Italy with Madan Lal and presumably with the amount of money ready for buying the marble.
So Madan Lal's money.
Yeah.
He,
No, Madan Lal money, he was collecting money.
he was very instrumental in gathering money for
Yes,
matrimony.
Yes.
Mr. Madan Lal.
yes.
And you had a good relationship with him.
Yeah, so it was
So
okay.
you went with him to Italy, both
Yeah.
of you?
Yeah.
Your home country?
Yes, I was thinking that I go to Carrara and I buy the need in marble there. But then I found out that the mines in Carrara are not producing any more white marble like that. It become only gray marble, light gray marble. So I went to Lasa, that is in North Italy, on the Alps, where there is still a possibility of getting white marble. Then I met the owner. The owner told me, but look, we are producing only 25% of the marble white. The rest is all with vein. No? So I convinced him to make an exception
Full
for
production
us
of white.
and give
How many tons you needed?
more than ton. We say we want to speak about square meter, but
It was a big amount, even for him it was a big amount?
It was a big amount. It was stored in the amphitheater down, and so this we spoke about column and the marble. Now let's say the symbols in the middle. The symbol in the middle, the mother symbol, is in marble, and fortunately I got the idea to buy the same, cut the slab for the circle already there in Lhasa, no, where we were cutting the marble, and so we got also that. For the symbol of Sri Aurobindo, no, we have not yet
Come
started.
to that.
We-
The columns are there.
the-
Tell us about the columns because
Oh.
they were quite a bit of
Again,
work.
the columns, we need sort of tubes, no? There were 60.
Aluminium.
I went to the aluminium company. There's only one company in Germany that was on the catalog, was producing 60 centimeter tubes. And I went there and I was frozen by the guy that I was dealing with one of this middle level manager, no? And I explained, I showed the drawing, the photos, etc. And he was absolutely neutral and not
Negative.
negative. So actually, I understood that for them to start producing these exceptionally big pipes that is not in production normally, the amount that we wanted was ridiculous. Yes. So for them would have been not interesting at all. So he sent me back like that.
Didn't work out.
So I thought, well, let's go for steel. Let me make a nice purchase of steel pipe. I go to Italy now, and there I found the pipes, but then I found out that for the 60 centimeter pipe, most of the steel pipes are with the welding. They show the welding. So that is. But then after searching in half of Italy by telephone, naturally not going, but by telephone, I found out a dealer that was having pipe.
Without the welding.
Yes, without showing the welding. Oh, beautiful. So I went there with a friend in the car. We saw the pipes. How many we want? 12. Cut it short. Yes. So we purchased all that. We sent to a factory where our friend was staying, near Bologna, so to say. And there they make the zinc coating for rust. So that was done, and then the pipe was sent.
They were shipped?
Were shipped in a container, yes, and they arrived here. Then after that, we were dealing with the finishing. No? The idea was to have a smooth white coating. When I was in Italy, I even purchased polyurethane paint that one can do for ships, no? like for the body of the ships, no? It's this nice smooth coating, and with that we started to do this piping. But then there was a question of the primer. There was many things in between. Well, anyhow, we found a way of not only doing the painting, but also to make it smooth by hanging the pipes from one end to another, this 8.5 meter pipes, rolling on a ball bearing with a small motor. So
You found a way? You found a way?
Yeah. I mean, it's not but we built the whole thing there. And so people with the stone and very fine paper and water running.
Aurovillians?
Yes,
Aurovillians?
Aurovillians. They were staying there with this thing about 30 centimeter long, and pushing and slowly grinding the layer of paint. Then after that, it was necessary to repaint, no? And then coat by coat, I was keeping in mind the way in which is done the lac in China. No? The Chinese lac is done by coat quoting and recording many times. And I was remembering that even 10, 12 times we were doing. And there also it's happened like that. We were repainting the same.
How many 10 times you did each column?
Each column was painted, grinded, repainted, regrinded. So until all the slight defect were absorbed.
Smooth, until it was completely smooth.
Yeah, and there was no steel visible evident. So
remember the laying of the columns also?
and then, okay, it was also, the column was finished. Every time we finished a column, we were putting cloths around, and then it was rolling on wheels down to the base of the crane, and then lifted up, going into the room, and then with the winch inside was lifted vertically and put on the base.
And how did you fix the column?
The column that was when we have done the slab. I left on each column, knowing that some column will come, I left a bolt in the middle.
Okay, so knowing the mother had said exactly.
The columns were there anyhow, so whatever you do, you have to fix on the slab. So I put into the slab a thick bolt in the middle. So we were bolting on that a long cable, and then on top this was tight. So the column is actually kept pressed on the slab like that. It's not fixed with any other.
It's very secure.
It's very secure.
What was your next job after the columns?
So that was the columns. Then the Sri Aurobindo symbols came, and then for that.
The gold symbol.
Mm.
Who made it?
The idea was to make this symbol as a frame, not like that, like you see them now. So I went to speak with this there is a Auro Food company on the in Kut Road near Make Biscuit. They have a separate company called I think Auro Mechanics or Auro Engineering. Yes, and Patel is the manager of that. So I spoke with him. He was helping, and then he offered to do this in the workshop there. He's having this special machine, specially designed for cutting thick slab of steel and metals. So we purchased a slab of bronze in Madras.
You purchased it?
No, that was unfortunate because I sent one guy that's name was Giovanni.
Giovanni.
So he was good in purchasing for the prices and all, but he purchased a wrong. Apparently, nobody was knowing. So, but apparently the quality of this metal was not so good. But we were not knowing. So we cut the symbols. The symbols were welded in square, and separately we have done the lotuses. No, also the lotuses were made there in our engineering, and was done perfectly well, really good. Moreover, at the end there was also a German lady, Edith, that was not Aurovillian, but was coming here sometime, and
Edith and Jürgen.
Yeah, Edith and Jürgen. Yes, she's a professional jeweler, no? And then she made all the fine adjustment, finishing, the smooth, and all that. But then, when we sent for goldsmith, who covering in small and gold in Bombay, we got a negative response. They're saying this steel have carbon in it. There is some problem. We cannot do it's not bronze. It's more copper. It's a mix of metals. It's not pure. So anyhow.
So, but the same thing you kept. The one that was done in the one that
no,
was
then
done in,
I was not really knowing what to do, and so at the time was already present in Matrimandir Michael Bonke, that was working especially for the disc and for. So he was must have in Madanlal, I think, also. They give him this symbol and say, you do that in Germany, the same.
So it was redone completely.
He brought to Germany the whole thing and redone the whole thing there
When he
in,
came back-
in stainless steel this
It
time.
came back, it was fine.
Yeah, it's not finished so good like Edith have done. No?
Yeah, yeah.
The fine finishing is not so good, but he has done the
Right.
job.
Now what about the crystal? How did
And
it
then
start?
it was the situation. Yeah, it was a situation because I have consulted already several times in the years before companies for glass. The first was Baccarat because Alain Grancolat was having an uncle working there. There was one of the managers. So I spoke with him on the telephone and then he explained that for Baccarat, for their type of techniques, was too big. Then was Karel, in one of his travel in Europe, he saw these crystals made. You saw, no, there are crystals made in shops, no, these small crystals. So he thought that maybe we can trace and so and so. So I don't know exactly, but he actually landed with the company Schott in Germany. No, that is, Schott is a company that is producing glass and is mainly selling this glass to Zeiss, that and other all around the world. No, is selling this optical glass. It's a special production. From the quality has to be absolutely under control. So he proposed it to them, and they said, "Well, yes, we can do that." So it was the first time we were getting a positive answer, not even so difficult for them. Apparently, they were doing even bigger things in order for astronomy, you know, and things like that.
Did you go there? Did you
Yes,
go to
then
Zeiss?
then the order say pass it through Zeiss for the technical side, computer test of the globe with the light, the sun.
Which year are we now? Which year are we?
I think it was 86 or
86?
this,
Okay.
It was all in the same period. But now my memory is not so good.
86, 87, fine.
So anyhow, it was done. The whole thing. I went there with Karel and Ruud. We discussed the whole thing in detail. There was a technical discussion, quite long, about the possibility of how many square meter of sun we can project on that. They were worried about the heat, you know, the heat on the globe, that they may crack the globe. So then they decided that it was okay, everything was okay, and then Karel placed the order. It was about 250,000 German mark at the time, you know, and I found it reasonable for Matti Mandir to spend this amount. You know, in fact, it's not even a big amount for the totality. But
You passed the order.
so the order was done, and then
How long it takes for them to
and
do
then
it?
they have made a casting of the first casting in Schott, not inside, but done in. The casting is done in a sort of cylinder rounded below, no? Like, so you can imagine a reverse form like a lingam, but. So this was filled with the liquid glass and let cool. So they say that the first casting was not okay. There was some bubble, some defect inside. So they made a second casting, and that was taking every casting need about 3-4 months for cooling.
For cooling, yeah.
Kept the temperature gradient was going down slowly, and finally they checked the quality. They checked the quality, and then they started grinding. Already in Schott, they have grinded the top, make it out of the
By machine?
by machine.
By machine.
Diamond machine, incredible, no, incredible.
You've seen it?
I've seen the photos of the thing. When they have cast about 1.1 ton of glass. The block was 1 and from that 50% was grinded out.
Wow.
You can imagine with these diamond tools going around like that, no? And the whole block was turning on a table, and this guided instrument were slowly cutting out a sphere. Incredible. Things that without diamond tools would have been impossible, absolutely impossible.
This is something you're very proud of, this crystal?
Well, I'm a technician, and I should only admire the realization of it.
Were Zeiss proud of it? Are they
Yes,
still proud
yes.
of it today? They remember today?
I don't know. They have changed completely asset, personnel. There was all the different personnel. So
You remember when the crystal arrived in Matrimony, when you opened it? Do you remember that?
yeah, but the thing is that when they completed this, we were not ready. So Karel held the sending of the crystal for 2 or 3 years. And only in 91, I think, the crystal arrived in a crate and from Madras. Now, first was the custom in Madras, and then it arrived here. And it was open and inspected, and then we closed again, we brought in the room, and we stored it there until everything was ready. So
when is the crystal installed?
and then the crystal, now I was in a bad need to have the crystal installed to get the check of the ray. The ray was still in a temporary,
You had devised also the
Yeah,
heliostat
yeah.
for the ray.
yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit of that?
So that was another one of this element part of the room, the heliostat. And that started very early. I was curious to see what type of difficulty or what we can do with that. So I built a rudimental heliostat with gears and
You built it here in Auroville?
there. Yeah.
On the Matrimony?
By itself.
Just with mirrors?
Mirrors, not sure what to do, but anyhow, we were doing experimenting, and then this was done, and then I got from a astronomical observatory in Florence. There, I went there, I found a
When you
technician.
went there, you
I
traveled there?
yeah, I was in Florence. I went to this. The place is exactly the same spot where Galileo was living in his last year. No, it's a hill near Florence, and I spoke with the young technician there, and I asked him how you do, to track the sun, and said. So at the end,
There was no computer then to track the sun.
Yeah, there was.
There was already.
Yeah. I was able to work with Aurelec computers to prepare a rudimentary program, just to have the first.
So the first program was experimented on top of Matrimony.
Yeah. So the whole story lasted some months or years, like that. But slowly that was taking shape, and but I wanted to see what's happening now in the reality. So we installed it the first time the crystal on a temporary stand.
When was that?
That was in 91. So we installed it sort of privately, without anybody knowing it. And we said, let's see now what. So that was the thing that allowed me to design finally the optics for passing the ray. The ray was just, this was a time in which my worry was to reach the bottom of the Matrimandir. The ray was
Through the crystal.
Through the crystal.
The first experiment worked?
No, it was the surprise was the crystal is so perfect that it worked like a lens.
What do you mean?
Well, when you see a mass of glass like that, you don't think that the ray passing through. Then after it's well,
dilute.
it's
Right.
diffracted.
But it did not.
No, it came out so perfect, making a perfect focus below.
The first time.
Yeah, then when it is under the sun.
Experimental heliostat that you devised yourself and you installed worked the first time perfectly,
well,
though it was.
it was already working without globe, but it was already there. No?
But the ray went straight through the crystal down to the lotus pond.
No. The ray was, once it's passed through the globe, the ray converge in one point, no? Like any lens, make a small, sharp focus that is in between the globe and the floor. And if you put the hand there, it burns, no? It's a hot spot. Then it enlarges again, but it's not practically usable for reaching the complete bottom. So, but the fact that the globe is a perfect lens, you see, the lens is basically made by two segment of sphere, like that, no? And then, but the globe is a full sphere, so it's a lens. The fact that it's optically good quality was allowing to design another optics to be fit below the globe that capture part of this ray and project it with a more parallel form to the bottom.
So that's what you did?
Yes.
Where did you make it?
Well, yeah, that's very interesting because I discovered that near Pondi there is an optical factory of high quality lenses that only made for export. That is on the road from Pondi to Carlour.
You went there?
I went there. Not only, but I saw that in the whole setup was necessary on the very top at the entrance of the ray after the mirror to have another lens that will focus more on the globe, no? Because the ray as it come in, it was too big. No? We were using a 1 meter 10 mirror, so it was too wide. So it was something was needed there. So that was a big job somehow, no? And so I went there and we discussed the thing, and they agreed to make a special lens for us for this purpose. Plus the lenses, once we have defined the focus length and all that. So at the top is about 50 centimeter lens. No? It's a big thing.
It's resting on the top.
It's resting just on the entrance on the top. The bottom are only some 20 centimeter or so, 15 centimeter lens.
So how long did that take to make?
No, that was good. They have done was reasonable time, no, some months, and they have delivered it. We paid them. I think the top lens costed little more than 1 lakh rupees. So all was fine, and the work perfectly done, because they are making lenses to export to Japan, to Middle East. I don't know, they are having contracts with photo cameras companies. No? So they have a good machine to do that.
Once you got these lenses...
So that was next to install these lenses, and then the last was to build the final heliostat that was also made by this Mr. Patel in our engineering.
Under your instructions?
Under my drawings, yes. But then they have redone all the drawings, they have given advice for the mechanics or the bearings, how to put the bearings. So they have the whole project.
And the program for the heliostat?
And then there was the program part, and that was already with me, and
Made by Orlek, by Kalia.
no,
You made the program.
yes. No, Kalia was busy with with this business there. Was not doing anything. No, he helped me on the beginning, no, to give me some information, some instructions. So, but I was.
You made the computer program.
I entered into it, and then.
But how do you know how to make computer programs? You learned.
Yes.
That's a
I learned.
That's a whole.
No, because I was using some calculator that is also programmable, and so that I learned this basic programming is elemental. It's the same program, but then it was redesigned by an American guy when Uli started to say that you have to redo because BASIC is the programming in BASIC is outdated, no more. You have to do with Windows.
Okay, that was done with the MS-DOS.
Yes, so we have, and I was not willing to reprogram myself to do this in Windows. So I said I don't do. Find somebody, and so then suddenly came out an American young guy able to do that. He spent quite a lot of time, 6 months here working intensely, and then he went away.
You remember when the crystal was installed? The first, I mean, the
Yeah, it was in 1992. 1992, May, I think.
in May 92.
Yes.
There was some ceremony. There was some.
No, because again, we were doing that in a more experimental form. We were not really ready to make ceremonies. It was not announced as, oh, tomorrow we fix the crystal. So
You remember who was there?
I have photos. Andy and Adara, they were mainly working on that. Lakshmi Narayan was there, and all the usual people working on the inner chamber. Divakar was there. I was having a team of Aurovillians working in the inner chamber for fixing all this marble floor, etc. So with them it was done.
You installed the crystal.
We changed actually the stand because the crystal was already there on the.
Okay, you put the.
We
the
lifted
proper
it.
stand.
We lifted and we changed the stand and fixed the new stand properly with gold, everything, and then we put the globe on that, and it was nice.
And it worked.
Yes.
The real
Then,
light,
then we saw that finally the ray was passing through.
But then the chamber was not yet thrown open.
Yes.
It was open to people.
Well, that was the conclusion. When we installed the crystal, the columns, the walls, everything was finished.
The carpet
The
was not yet.
carpet maybe was not there.
Was not there. Okay. Now, I have a question. Today there is an atmosphere in the chamber. That when was it created, that atmosphere? When did you feel that, the Mother's presence came into the chamber, or was it always there?
In 1970, when in reading the conversation of Mother when she explained to Satprem, I felt the atmosphere of the chamber was there. Said already. Yes, there was nothing there, but I felt that it was the thing. It was there. The whole thing was there.
Your work actually was completed. Then you stopped.
I have felt that my engagement of Mother Maria was fulfilled.
The day when the crystal.
Yes, of course. Yes. I go there, but not so much because I still have the feeling I'm so much technically connected. So much work was done there, and so that when I go, I always think, oh, the ray has to be like that, has to be like that.
You have built many houses, schools. Do you feel the Matre Mandir is your life's work?
As a creative work, I have done other projects more by myself and more as architect. But the type of full engagement that was required for Matrimandia, I never found in any other job. This thing, like going from mathematics to optics to engineering to
It's remarkable, remarkable.